Hello, it's literature time. Because you saw that this was a literature video on YouTube, you should have your book with you. Always be prepared. We're going to begin on page 9, reading right here. And let's talk about what in the world is so important about this silly blue plate. Maybe you don't get it yet. I didn't when I first started reading the book either. Why would she be so obsessed with this plate? Let's read. There would be plenty of time to show Lupin the plate, Janie decided thankfully. She needed a lot of time to show anyone the plate. Indeed, she never hurried in showing it to herself, for it was no ordinary plate. It meant to her what a doll might have meant. If she had had one, she doesn't have one because their family is so poor. Or it means to her what brothers and sisters would mean, and it meant much more besides. To begin with, it had belonged to Janie's great-grandmother, so it was very old. Then it had belonged to Janie's mother, but that was a long, long time ago before that mother had died and Mom had come to take her place. So Mom is her stepmom. The memory of her mother, her real mother, birth mother, was so shadowy to Janie that if she tried to hold it even for a second, it faded away altogether. It was like a bit of music you can hear within yourself, but which leaves you when you try to make it heard. Mixed up with this faint memory were Mother Goose rhymes and gay laughter and a home of their own. And because the willow plate had once been a part of all this, it had seemed actually to become these things to Janie. So the plate represents a lot of really, really important things to her. Family things and memories and a home they used to have before they became wanderers for 5 years. Half her life they've been moving from farm to farm and looking for work for Dad. So it says here, it was the hub of her universe. That means like the middle of the wheel where all the little spokes go out to the outside edge. It was the hub of her universe, a solid rock in the midst or in the middle of shifting sands. Life changes a lot when you're moving from place to place, like sand that shifts in the wind. This plate was her solid rock. In addition to everything else, the willow plate was the only beautiful thing the Larkins owned. It was a blue willow plate, and its pattern of birds and willows and human figures in its pattern of birds and willows and human figures, it held a story that for Janie never grew old. Its color, deep and unchanging, brought her the promise of blue skies even on the grayest days, and of blue oceans even in an arid wasteland, like where she is right now. She never grew tired of looking at it. But strangely enough, not since the drought and dust storm had driven them out of Texas, had the blue plate ever been used as a dish or for any other purpose. Never had it been unpacked except for brief moments. And never, Mrs. Larkin had declared long ago, would it be put out as a household ornament. It's like a decoration, like a piece of art. It would never be put out as a piece of art until they had a decent home in which to display it. So where they're living now in this shack is obviously not a decent home, a real home. In the meantime, it was kept safely tucked away, a reminder of happier days before its owners had become wanderers in search of a livelihood, or in search of a job and an income. All right, let me pause the video. I have something to show you. Look what I have. All a real blue willow plate. This is just like the one that Janie has. If you look at the picture on the front cover, it looks exactly the same. It's a real plate. You can see it's kind of shiny. I don't know if I can catch the glare on it. This is, they're still making this pattern, this same plate that Janie had almost 100 years ago. And it was older than that because it was her great-grandmother's. And I was able to get one. So this will be hanging on the wall in our classroom as a reminder. So we're going to see this plate continue to show up throughout the story. And we'll find out at the end what it represents all in all in the whole story. So for right now, I want you to read chapter 3 about Janie going to the fair. Now this is so fun because we've all been to the fair and we can picture exactly what it looks like. It's our own Fresno fair that she's going to. So enjoy the story. When you're done, you will be writing, looking up some quotes and writing. You're going to do literature number 8. So literature number 8 says, before you begin this assignment, you will have read both chapter 2 and chapter 3 in Blue Willow. Chapter 2 you already read last week. If you want to read it over again to remember what it was about, go ahead and then read chapter 3. Let's look at the instructions that go with this. It says right here, Janie's father is a migrant farm worker. That means that he must move from place to place looking for work. When you migrate, you move all the time, like animals, birds that migrate in the winter and the summer. His family must move with him because they have no home to go back to. So it's not like they have a house to live in and dad goes out and works somewhere else for a couple weeks and then comes back home. They don't have a home. They lost everything in a dust bowl. The dust bowl blew away their land and their farm failed and they don't have anything to go back to. Everything they own fits in their car. There's a hint in chapter 2 about what Dad did for a living before they had to leave Texas. See if you can go back and find it. Janie's afraid of something when they go to get water. They go through the gate and they go over to the windmill pump to get water. And Dad seems to know that that something won't hurt her. Go back and see if you can find it. It's in the middle of chapter 2 when they go out to get water. There's even a picture right after it of them standing there next to the fence and next to the windmill. Or not next to the windmill, but next to the fence. It's right before this picture, page or so. See if you can find it. So that's the kind of work Dad used to do before they lost their home because of the Dust Bowl. So let's go back to here. The family might stay for a few days or a few weeks in one place, and then they must move on because there is no more work. The crop is all picked or the pruning is all done and they have to keep moving. They never know how long the work will last, so they say they will stay as long as we can. You hear them say that a lot in the book. This affects Janie in many ways. She has fears and hopes and disappointments. There are many things she has to live without. Not just physical things, but other things too. Find quotes from the story that show Janie's life as a migrant child. Write the quote. Then, right after the quote, describe how this thing you just quoted affected Janie. So you don't have to write a paragraph. You're just going to write the quote and then say, Janie is sad, or Janie is afraid because, or Janie misses having, blah, blah, blah. Tell me why the quote shows something about her life as a migrant child. So you're going to read and reason from the following pages. Page 20, 21, the next thing after the comma, the very bottom of 24 and on to the top of 25. Then another one almost in the middle of 25. Then 27 and 29, there's two things on 29. 32, 36, 39, and 42. So you'll have 2 pages to write on. If you still run out of room, get out a piece of binder paper, put a good title at the top, say literature number 8 at the top of the piece of binder paper, and see what you can find about the aspects of living life as a migrant. Because this is very central to the theme, the point of our story. Bye.